Hello! Thank you so much for watching my video, which is a final project for the course Ruin Confucianism at Washington College, taught by Professor Bin Song. As you've seen in the title card, this video is about ancestor devotion, which is a topic that I found incredibly interesting from when it was first mentioned in class. This video will be broken into two sections. One about the place of ancestor devotion and its connection to key Ruist principles, and the second a practical demonstration of how college students can incorporate ancestor devotion into their own life on a budget. Ancestor devotion, as its name implies, is the way that those in the Ru tradition should treat their ancestors. This means treating them with respect and carrying out rituals in the honor of one's ancestors. However, this practice does not come from out of thin air, and is rooted in one of the virtues that Confucius told his followers to practice. This virtue is filial piety, which, in its simplest form, means giving respect to one's family and to those in authority over someone. At the core of filial piety is being respectful of one's parents, because without parents and the sacrifices they made, we would not be here. That same logic is applied to our ancestors as well, because if not for our grandparents and great-grandparents and the sacrifices that they made, we would not be in the positions that we are today. That is why ancestor devotion is important. It is a way to honor and respect our ancestors despite them no longer being with us. While respect is emphasized, it is important to note that Confucius saw reciprocation of that respect as important. So just as children treat their parents with respect and kindness, parents are expected to treat their children the same way. Furthermore, when rifts arise in a familial relationship, there's a duty upon one of the parties to remonstrate or make attempts to repair the relationship and change problematic behavior. This virtue is exemplified by the legendary sage King Shun, whose story is told in the foundational Ruist text, the Classic of Documents. In this story, Shun is horribly mistreated by his family, specifically his father and stepmother, who exercise tyrannical control over his life. They do this by not allowing him to marry the woman he wants, and, at the extreme end of being a bad parent, plotting to kill him. The Classic of Documents reads, Shun is the son of a blind man. His father was obstinately unprincipled, his stepmother was dishonest, his half-brother Zhang was arrogant. He went into the fields, daily cried with tears to the compassionate heaven. To his parents, he took to himself all guilt, and charged himself with their wickedness. At the same time, with services to deliver, he appeared respectful before his father Gisu, looking grave and awestruck, till Gi also became transformed by his example. This is how entire sincerity moves the spirit. Shun is exalted in the Ru tradition because, despite all that his parents did, he still sought to make amends with them. While no other non-sage would be expected to go to the length that Shun did, remonstration is recommended for all people. However, in cases that it would be unsafe to remonstrate, a person is allowed to end contact with a family member, or, in the case of ancestors, not venerate them. Now that you know a bit more about the role that filial piety plays in Ruism and how ancestor devotion is a way to practice filial piety, it is time to learn about how one can perform ancestor devotion, even if they are busy college students on a tight budget. Setting up an altar to your ancestors should be easy and, most importantly, should not be an expensive or tenuous process. When it comes to setting up your altar, simple is always better than elaborate. This is also not just my advice, it comes from Confucius as well. Lin Fang asks, what was the root of rituals? The master said, a great question indeed. For ritual, it is better to be simple than extravagant. In the ceremonies of mourning, it is better that there be deep sorrow than a minute attention to observances. While it is nice to have the ancestral altar look nice, what is more important than anything else is the intent behind it, and making sure to place the emotions for your ancestors above everything else. With that in mind, it is time to construct the altar, and to do so you will need a few things. For my own altar, I'm dedicating it to my grandfather that passed away in 2012. To decorate it, I'm setting up a separate table, using a tablecloth decoration I found, placing a picture of my grandfather from when he was young, lighting a candle, and setting up flowers to represent nature. Because I have them, I'm also setting up cards and poker chips, because he was an avid cards player, and also setting out a cup of coffee as a sacrifice because my grandfather used to live on coffee. And yes, there's going to be cream and sugar. Well, that is what I have access to. You can modify it to fit your needs. Now that we have our materials, it is time to build the altar. While you build your altar, turn it into a time to meditate on your own life, the life of your ancestor, and connect with any emotions that you have about your ancestor, whether they are joyful or sorrowful. I'm now going to take the time to build my altar, meditating and using the Ruist breathing techniques while I do so. But when you build yours, use whatever techniques are most comfortable. Now that this altar is assembled, you can do whatever you'd like with it. You can keep it up permanently or only build it on certain occasions, like near holidays if you'd like. One good use for this space, and I may be partial because this is what I'm going to do, is set it aside as a space for meditation. Not only reflecting on my ancestors' life and giving them reverence, but also the space to center myself and achieve inner harmony. I think this practice is incredibly helpful and helps not only make real some of the concepts of Ruism, but it can be an effective way to practice those philosophical concepts. It forces the person practicing to slow down, think through how they want their ancestor altar to be, and naturally has them reflect not only about their ancestor's life, but also about their own life and mortality. I'd recommend that everyone, at some point, try out this ritual, as I think there's a lot that we can learn from taking this time to reflect and meditate, especially when it involves honoring our loved ones that have passed away.